to Aware. We are dedicated to communicating information that inspires your positive growth and change. Are you interested in a peaceful planet? Are you interested in optimal health? Are you living with purpose? Are you enjoying your life? We realize each person can make a difference, and our mission is to empower your awareness. The choices that you make in every moment shape your life, and we encourage you to realize that you have your own answers and to always listen to your own truth. We invite you to stay aware.
Hi, I'm Lisa Garr, host of the Aware Show's Health and Mindset series, where I get the incredible opportunity to speak with experts in their field that talk about health and mindset and mind, body, spirit. That connection is so essential. It's really all we have, our mind, body, spirit connection. When it synchronizes and when we become one with that, it leads our every choice, our every decision, our every thought, our every moment. And today is definitely a moment that we get to change and focus our thoughts, because we are in a world now that is really not going to be the same as it was. The next level of our life is really up to us to do that deep dive into who we are, into connecting our mind and our body and our spirit. So are you diving into maybe goals or looking into your future right now, which can be challenging because it's so uncertain? Or are you getting stuck with the limitations of your mind, and are those surfacing more than they ever have been when they're really put to the test? These are questions that Kute Blackson asks, and he helps people uncover the unconscious reasons that might be keeping us stuck. He has his incredible book, which is called You Are the One. Welcome, Kute. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's great to be with you. I just love any time we get to spend together.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So you and I know that these are unprecedented and challenging times. And you have also been teaching about mind, body, spirit for decades. You've taken people on pilgrimages in their deepest despair and brought them into their deepest sense of knowing. And I kind of think we're there right now as a humanity. It's like as if you were to take us as a humanity on one of your incredible deep dive journeys. Where would you start with us?
You know, I think first we also have to just, definitely acknowledge that we are in a moment of crisis. And in any moment of crisis, there's also an opportunity that in any moment of crisis and breakdown that something more is seeking to be revealed, something more is seeking to happen. And so I think we have to acknowledge the crisis that is happening. And many times when a crisis occurs in our lives, what we tend to do out of fear and panic is we tend to hold on to who we were. We tend to hold on to what we were. We tend to hold on to everything we knew as a sense of security and comfort. And I think that just simply keeps us stuck. And so I think the more we're able to recognize that essentially, whether we're aware of it or conscious or not, all times are uncertain. It's just a little more obvious now. It's just a little bit more in our faces now. But the truth is, all times are uncertain. And all of life is essentially temporary. And so I think in this moment, if we're able to let go and not resist, the more we are able to participate with the changes that are happening and embrace the changes that are happening, even though it's scary and it's challenging and it's we're thrown into the unknown. I think the more we can bring ourselves into relationship with the seeming uncertainty that has always been there anyway, the more we're then able to be free to shift how we relate to it. So I think we have to acknowledge that all things are uncertain. And the more we're able to embrace the uncertainty out here, and I think as human beings, we're constantly seeking for a sense of certainty out here. If I have the right car, if I have the right house, if I got the right job, if I have enough money, if I can just control all the things in my external environment to be in a particular place, then I'm going to finally reach a moment of utopia when I'm safe, then when I'm secure, when everything is. And so I think we have so learned to control things out here. I think control is a sort of illusion, and we were never really in control in the first place, but we have a sense or an idea that we're in control. And I think these times, in a very intense way, we're being reminded by the universe that we were never in control, that we're not in control, we're not really in control. And so I think on one level, as difficult as it is, as challenging as it is, as much uncertainty as it's bringing up, I really see this time as a very deep dive, transformational, spiritual process that the entire universe, the divine, the universe, life has put us in a transformational process. I'm known to take people on 12 days journeys to India. Now the universe is taking us on a sort of a journey within ourselves, where during this time, I think as we face the uncertainty, we're being forced to deal with all sorts of, maybe feelings within ourselves that we suppressed, that we denied, that we were unconscious of, that we didn't even know were there. Fears around survival, fears around the future, fears about ourselves, all those places that we may have held onto outside for a sense of value, for a sense of identity, for a sense of this is who I am, my job, my bank account, my relationship, my structures that I've built out here. As these kind of collapse, as these goes through a change, and the nature of life is change. The nature of life is impermanent. The nature of life is transitory. So I think we have to recognize the nature of existence and accept it. And so as we go through this time, I think it's natural, it's only normal that all sorts of feelings, fears, insecurities are going to come to the surface for us to look at, for us to embrace, for us to heal, for us to let go of, for us to love, to learn to love those parts of ourselves. And so I think we're being forced more than ever during this time. I see it as actually a time of awakening, a time of evolution, a time of transformation. Dare I say it, a time of enlightenment, where we've been identified with ourselves as just this physical form and our stuff and the material stuff out here. But now we're being forced, I think, as the things we've held onto, uncertain, collapsing, we're being forced, I think, by life to go inside and connect with the deeper dimension of ourselves. What is true? What is real? What is real? Who am I really if I'm not my job? Who am I really if I'm not all these things I thought I was? I think many of us were looking at our futures and we're like, wow, life is not going to be what I thought it was. Wow, maybe I won't have a job. Maybe what will happen to the business I've built?
Right.
So if I'm not those things, who am I really? And so I think there's a real powerful spiritual opportunity to first and foremost go deep within ourselves and question and begin to reconnect with the deeper part of ourselves, our soul, our truth, the real essence of who we are, and connect to that place inside of ourselves. So I think that is a beautiful invitation by the universe. Yeah, it's very difficult, but I think it's a beautiful invitation by the universe.
It is a beautiful invitation. And it's when you've helped people in the past, say you've taken them on a journey or a pilgrimage, or really people find you that are at their most broken place, where their job has left them, or their family has, or they've had some type of health or financial crisis, and everything in their world has crumbled. And they're looking for a new source, and which is usually within themselves, and you lead them back to that journey within. In this case, our entire humanity is experiencing this exact thing. Our financial structures are crumbling. Our health structures are being taxed. Our relationships are being strained. And so the only way through is in, I believe.
Yes.
And that's basically what you're teaching us. So
we can no longer run, somehow we've been put in a sort of quarantine, whether you like it or not. We were having a conversation earlier. Not saying it's ideal, but on some level, we've been confined to our homes. And I think we can see it as a punishment, or we can see it as a portal to a possibility to something deeper for ourselves, an opportunity to get off of the rat race, because there's so many ways that I think we distract ourselves as human beings. We busy ourselves, we distract ourselves, we run around. Maybe we're working jobs that are not aligned for us. Maybe in relationships that are not truly in alignment with our deepest truth. But we keep going, and we know that there's a deeper truth inside, something more that we're here to do, something more that we're here to express, something more that we're here to give. But out of fear of the consequences, fear of what will happen, fear of survival, we don't really acknowledge the truth. And so we distract ourselves with food, money, sex, social media, busyness, working, and we don't truly connect with our truth, and then we continue living what I call a lie, or living an inauthentic life. And I think living someone else's version for yourself in terms of a life will never lead to happiness. Being someone that you're not will never lead to truly an authentic life. So now we have these distractions removed, and we're being forced to go inside to really connect with who am I, but reconnect with what is my truth? What do I really want for myself? What is my true purpose? An opportunity to realize. Yeah, I think one of the things we have to be willing to do is actually stop resisting what is happening right now and trust that what is happening for a reason. So get into relationship with this time. Use this time of quarantine, lockdowns, sheltering in place. Use this time as a spiritual boot camp to go inside. I would say remove distractions and go inside and question. One of the ways that we keep ourselves stuck and on the treadmill are all the ways that we lie to ourselves that we can kind of get away with when we are busy running around and we don't have to deal with what our truth is. So use this time to actually investigate and question, what lies am I telling myself? What am I pretending to not know? What is it costing me? And actually take this time of stillness to feel, what is it costing me to be in a relationship, to be married to someone, to work in a job that I hate, to be married to someone that I'm really not in love with, haven't been in love with, or not aligned with for the last 10, 15, 25, however many years, and actually feel the pain. Use this time to really connect to your deepest truth and feel the pain. And I think the truth can set us free if we're willing to be with it, feel it. And so I would say first place to start is feel the truth, acknowledge the truth, speak the truth, have conversations with people in your life to facilitate the truth. I believe the truth ultimately serves everybody. And that's how we can begin to restructure and change our reality.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, it would help if the audience understood your story a bit, where you were basically groomed to follow in your father's footsteps as a minister of a large church in West Africa. And what happened there when you were 8?
Yeah,
14.
My father was born in Ghana, West Africa. My mother's Japanese. Grew up in London. We had to leave Ghana because of a coup when I was age 3. The president was killed. My father was the spiritual teacher to the president, and my father happened to be in London. The president was killed. They were looking for my father. So my mother and I were smuggled out of Ghana into London. And for me, from a very young age, I always felt, Lisa, a deep calling to serve humanity. I felt this burning desire to make a difference in people's lives. And my first memories as a young boy was literally seeing a crippled woman crawling on the floor, and she picks up the sand that this man walks on, wipes on her face, and stand up. So week after week, I grew up seeing, miracles, blind people seeing, deaf people hearing, people standing up on wheelchairs. So this was my reality, not on social media, not on the internet, but live with my father. And so I grew up with this sense of possibility. And at a very young age, I became obsessed with trying to understand, who am I and why am I here? And what is the purpose of life? These questions, and where are we going? And, why do some people seem happy when they have everything? Why do some people seem happy when they have nothing? And why do some people who seem to have everything seem to be unfulfilled? And so this became my fascination. So from age 8 to around 17, 18, I maybe devoured like 800 books. And so my father had 300 churches in Ghana, West Africa, a huge church in London, very mystical, spiritual, new thought sort of minister. Very metaphysical human being, and I grew up in a very positive environment. But from age 8, my father threw me in front of the audience one day and said, my son is going to speak. Age 14, I was ordained as a minister, given the mandate to basically take over my father's entire spiritual organization. And I looked at my mother, I looked at myself. This wasn't what I felt was true for my life, but the truth was I was too afraid to speak my truth. I was too afraid to confront my father. I was afraid that if I spoke my truth, that I would lose his love. If I spoke my truth, it would end the relationship. If I dared to be who I was, then I was afraid of the consequences. I'd be outcast. I'd be alone for the rest of my life. And so
Wow,
I think, like many of us, I went along with it. I went along with what he thought, what I thought he wanted me to be. I went along with what I thought would make him happy. But deep inside, there was a pain. There was a pain of knowing this was not my path. This was not my life. And so I struggled with this deeply for about 4 years. And at age 18, I looked into my future, Lisa, and I realized I have to make a choice. I can follow the expected path for my life and make him happy, make everyone else happy, hundreds of thousands of people happy. But if I don't have myself, if I don't have my integrity, if I can't look myself in the eyes, then to me, this is akin to suicide. And I looked at the unknown path, and I just knew that something was calling me. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what it would look like. I had no idea how I was going to get there, but I knew something was calling me. And when I looked into it, it just seemed like an unknown path, but I knew in my heart that this was right. And it was terrifying. It was scary. Sometimes we think that when we find or connect to our purpose or our dream, it's going to be easy. But I think many times when we find our purpose and we connect to our dreams, the challenges just begin. The tests just begin. I think the universe sends us tests and challenges along the path to the manifestation of our dreams, to test us, to prepare us, to force us to develop the internal mental and spiritual, I say, soul force, soul muscle, so that we can grow into and become the necessary human beings, vehicles who are capable of fulfilling the dream and the vision. And so I look at these times we're in right now, I think, yes. And so I left, basically, to answer your question, I left everything behind. I had a conversation with my father. I dared to speak the truth. I dared to tell him the truth. And truth was, I'm not taking over your ministry. I'm not taking over your churches. And so, because I realized if I live my life for him, I would regret it the rest of my life. And if at the end of my life, it would only be painful. And so I looked into my life and I realized I would be filled with regret. And so I had the difficult conversation. I spoke the truth. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it.
Right.
And we live in,
that's kind of what you're saying. What you're saying to do now is that exact thing, is to really have this opportunity to look down the path of our life and decide what's the real truth right now that we want to live, and how is it going to impact our future. Your stakes were very high because you had your father and his legacy and the disappointment, and then you had to forge your own path. After you got through the hurdle of telling him, then what? You left for America and had to figure it out on your own. And there was really no asking for help, because although he would have helped you, it wasn't appropriate. So you have forged your path on your own, and you have done an amazing job where you have been helpful to so many hundreds of thousands of people here. You've basically forged your own spiritual community, but way beyond, into the millions, I would say. So you've done that, but it's not because you just said it once and then just you were on your way. You have to work at this every day, right?
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. But for me, I'm constantly, there's two things. For me, I'm constantly feeling into what is my deepest truth, moment to moment, in any situation, feeling what is my deepest truth and allowing myself to feel that. The other thing is, I think we're in a time right now where the concept, Lisa, of death is much more in our faces and at the forefront of our consciousnesses than before. The reality, with COVID-19, with the situation we're in, but the truth is people are dying every day. The truth is death is a part of life. The truth is millions and millions of people have died since, the January the 1st to now in so many different ways. And so we happen to be in a moment of time where in the collective consciousness, we are in a deep, you could say, confrontation with our mortality, with our death, in a way that I think is so intense, scary, profound, yet so powerful. I actually say it's a death meditation. And so everyone is kind of face to face with, oh my God, what might happen? Death, death. But the truth is, it's always been the case. We just have not been face to face with it. We have not been paying attention. So something that is actually, in a strange way, not to make this a morbid conversation, but something that you say, what's helped me? One thing that has helped me, even pre-COVID-19, is to face my death, to actually meditate on my death. This is something that has transformed my life. Daily, I actually meditate on my death, because the truth is, we are all going to die. None of us know when that moment will happen. Maybe it will happen 15 years from now. Maybe it will happen 20 years from now. But I guarantee you, the people in 9/11 had no idea they weren't going to come home that night and look their loved ones in the eyes. Certain people that may have died from COVID-19 had no idea that it was going to happen to them in that moment. You know, someone that died in a car accident had no idea that they weren't going to come home that night and look their loved ones in the eyes and say, I love you, or I'm sorry. And so for me, the truth is, we all have the same amount of time. In one day, we have 86,400 seconds, and tomorrow is not a right, it's a privilege. And so one thing I do each day is I sit with death. I sit with death. I meditate on death. I bring death close. I feel to myself, wow, today, if today was the last day of my life, if this was it, would I be ready? And I feel it. If not, well, I'm not saying I want to die today, Lisa. I'm not saying I would like to go today. There's so much more I would like to do. But if today was the last day, would I be ready? Could I throw my arms open? Could I be at peace that I'm giving everything, that I'm loving fully, that I'm expressing fully? What's ungiven? What's unexpressed? What's unforgiven? Who do I need to communicate to? And I sit with this, and I feel that, like, if today was the day. And so death for me, because it's not a question of if we're going to die, it's really a question of when. And I think when we really learn to accept death as a part of life, because there's no life without death, as we learn to embrace death, not as a morbid thing or something to be scared of, but just as another transition, as we learn to embrace death and feel death, what it's done for me is it's giving me a deeper urgency to live life, a fierce urgency to not waste a single second of this precious existence, because I really don't want to die with any regret. So I'd ask those listening in, if death came today, what would you regret? What regrets would you have? Not having done, not having said, not having communicated, and realize that there is no time to waste, because when that moment comes, when your time comes and you meet your maker, whatever you believe, you can't go to God, the universe, and say, can I get a refund? When it's gone, it's gone.
Wait,
So,
yes, right. Yeah, that's a great point of what conversations have you had up to this point that you're not proud of, or what thoughts have you been having that you're not happy with? Can you really do something about that? You possibly do have tomorrow. So
yes.
Can you go back and right that wrong? Can you change the way you think to reflect that? Get out of the complaining and the moaning and the groaning and all of the things that we can easily focus on, and choose to put your thoughts in a different direction. I mean, you and I were talking earlier about, yes, our rights and inconveniences, and a lot of this is being taken away. This is the facts. However, what can you do about that in your own mind to cause this peace every single day? Because do you want to die complaining? Or do you want to die with love in your heart?
Yeah. Complaining says, I think if we focus on all the things that we can't control, it will only create suffering. And the more we focus on all the things we can't control, and the reality is there are so many things we can't control. For the most part, control is really an illusion. And the more you focus on that, the more you'll feel miserable, the more you'll be disempowered, to even be resourceful enough to control the things you can control. And if you live in a disempowered state, you won't take the action that you can take in this moment to be able to actually shift and change your reality. And so for me, I think this is a profound opportunity and meditation moment for the universe and boot camp to observe one's attention. Where is my, a question I've been asking myself is, where is my attention right now? Is it on all the things that I can't control, which is a lot of things? Or what can I control in this moment? What can I do in this moment? What can I commit to in this moment? Can I commit to the choices in this moment that are self-loving? Am I willing to love myself enough in this moment to commit to what's in my control? And so I think that's a place that we can start.
Yes. And we have just a minute, and I'm wondering if you could take us just 30 seconds to go into that place inside of ourselves that we can control, Kute.
Yeah. I would invite each person to, I think one thing that we can control in any moment is, simple as it sounds, I mean, you know this, Lisa, is focusing on what am I grateful for? Actually intentionally focusing on the gratitude. Many times we might be in a moment of feeling scarcity of what's going to happen in the future. But I think if we can bring our attention back to our breath, bring our attention back to our body, bring our attention back to this moment, what can I give thanks for? This moment, what am I grateful for? This moment, what do I have? Because I think in these times we realize so many of the things that we think that we needed in order to be happy, what's essential? What do we really need? And so actually give thanks for what you do have. Cultivate that practice right now of giving thanks for your health, giving thanks for your breath. When you realize that so much of life is free, your birth is free, your breath is free, the sun shining free. You didn't earn your right to be on this planet. So much of it is free. Your digestion is happening free. We are being, as challenging as it is, this whole existence is free. We didn't pay for it. It's just free. And so to live in the beauty of, anything beyond our birth is really a bonus. That's how I see it. It's a bonus. And to live in the gratitude of that bonus, to live in the gratitude for just the opportunity to experience the adventure of this crazy existence is even if it's difficult, when you realize it's given to us freely by the universe, I still find it quite beautiful, even amidst its challenges. And so focus on that, breathe that in, focus on that.
I thank you so much, Kute. This is such a beautiful conversation that I want to continue on to do another show with you. So we're going to wrap this for now and remember that moment of feeling and focusing on what you have in this moment right now. It's expansive. Let it grow. Let it continue on. And we'll talk to you again, Kute. Thank you so much. I'm Lisa Garr. And until next time, I invite you to stay aware.